What is up, everybody? Versus here today, and I have a very interesting post on game facts on the PS5 board. So apparently, the Sony guys are wondering what has made Sony all of a sudden start to hate older games now. Because as far as I can know, Sony has always been about supporting the older titles. Like even since like the PS2, you can be able to play like your older PS1 games and so forth. Like the PS3, you can play PS2 games. PS4 is probably where the disconnect started to happen. Because yeah, it was very difficult to play PS3. I don't think you could play PS3 games on the PS4. We had to like download the games, or they like did like their whole remasters thing. So I think PS4 was kind of like the first entry until like they stopped really caring about older games like that. Then like as we move forward, it was like they care less and less about older games. But yeah, that's what people on the board are talking about. So they said they went from PS3 can play two older generations of game natively to you who want to play these old games in 10 years time. What happened? They can make the triggers rumble, but it can't play a PS2 game. Yeah, so once again, this is definitely discussion on Sony closing their older stores like the Vita store, the PSP store, and the PS3 store. People are still not happy about that. And people just wonder, like, what made this change in logic? Because they always supported their older titles. It's all about like playing your older games, game preservation. But now Sony doesn't really care about game preservation anymore. So what made this change is what people are talking about now. So let's look at some of the responses. So the PS3 sold better once PS2 backwards compatibility was removed. Look at PS4 and PS5 sales. Money talks. Consumers have spoken. Is that really what it is? Like they just say, hey, nobody just wants these older games anymore. I don't know if that's what it is. What it is. Jim Ryan complained on how old games look ancient. They also realized they could slap a new coat of paint on them and charge you full price for it. They have been accused of doing that as well too. I'm not gonna lie, especially like for these remasters. It's like they're pretty much selling us these old games again. So at this point, are you sure that wasn't just because the PS3 without backwards compatibility was cheaper? Yeah, the PS3 was extremely expensive when it first came out, but when they took out the backwards compatibility feature, it was a lot cheaper. Hate is the wrong word here. I don't think you know. I don't think you know. I know anything about how backwards compatibility works with consoles. All I could guess is that Sony probably thinks it's not worth allocating resources to, making their consoles play games in a certain format. Okay. And most people didn't use backwards compatibility with the PS3. I, I don't know because when I got my PS3 didn't even have the backwards capable feature. So can I really say that people really didn't care about that feature back then? It's like only a certain amount of people who actually bought the PS3 like the launch adapters. So people bought like day one or year one had that model. It's like if you didn't have that model, you couldn't play the older PS2 games on your PS3. So I just know Xbox is over there doing it. How hard can it be? Yeah, like how hard can it be? Like they already have some games that's on the PS2 and PS3 games on the PlayStation 4 store. Like why is it so hard to put these other ones on there? I have no idea. It's like they kind of just gave up on that whole. They kind of like pretty much to be honest, they kind of like half-assed the whole putting PS2 games and PS3 games on a PS4 store. They kind of just like half-assed it at one point and just gave up and started doing it. It's because 360 was obviously more similar to Xbox One than PS3 was to PS4. Sony made the mistake back when they decided to make PS3 so different, but they learned their lesson and made the PS5 fully backwards compatible for PS4 titles at least. Please also notice that only about 40 OG Xbox games and 480 Xbox 360 games, less than 25% of all 360 games are backwards compatible. It's not that easy and it's not a main focus for Sony because most gamers don't care about playing older games. Okay, if that is true, why were people so outraged about the stores closing down then? Most people don't care. They don't care. Why was it such a big outrage about Sony closing those stores then? I don't think they're prepared to support older games. Microsoft stressed making their newer consoles inclusive of older games. For Sony to do that at this point would take more work and that means more money. They can't profit from it without charging a lot less, so they're kind of stuck. Or Sony should be done with the PS4 by having PS2 chip and PS1 chip for backwards compatibility. Okay. Are all all of these people stupid or what? PS5 has the best backwards compatibility of any PlayStation console. It actually improves the performance of previous gen games, which has never been done before on PlayStation. But that only applies to like the PS4 games. You can't play the older games as well too. On Xbox, you can play all the older games. So I don't know. But it's worth it to allocate resources to censor content. Okay. What made Sony hate old games? Most likely profit margins. I doubt it's worth it for Sony to get to the used games business. I don't think people really have a problem with Sony charging for these older games, like these older like PS2, PS3 games. Just don't make it like a ridiculous fee. I don't think people really care, to be honest. Like we don't gotta be able to play the physical disc, but if you give me the option to play these games, I wouldn't care. I'll probably buy some of these older games, but they just get rid of it entirely. Like once those stores close, those games are gone. So let's see. Too bad PS4's library is the worst of all PlayStation consoles, and as the most recent system, we all have a PS4 at the moment. Hard to be excited about playing most recent last-gen games on a new system. Also, improved performance, more like fake 60 frames per second galore. Well, apparently your average PS5 consumer seems unaware that PCs have been able to improve the performance of games for years and are just buying a slightly cheaper gaming-only PC in a Sony form. I pay for a physical console that can do the same thing I've been doing with emulators and I guess on PCs and phones for years and allow me to play older generations. They don't want my money? Fine. So he's talking about going the route of just getting a PC and emulating these games, which I don't find a problem with at this point. Like if Sony is gonna allow you to buy these games, you might as well just emulate the games on PC at this point. They're just missing out on potential money with that one. Then the justification, since Xbox Series X is rocking Xbox Original 360, and Xbox One games, while PS5 only has PS4 backwards compatibility. And then you have the option to play some PS3 games on PS Now, but you have to stream those games, which people don't want to do. So that is that thing as well. Sony doesn't hate old games. They're just not interested in increasing console development costs, when the majority aren't interested enough to pay for it. How true is that though? Like, has there been a survey done? I don't like it if people keep making these definitive statements, but it's like, how do you know that people don't want to play these older games? It was pretty cheap for PS2 to be backwards compatible to PS1, but not so much for PS3 to have backwards compatibility for PS2. The PS3 was more unfriendly to forward compatibility than the PS2 was. So this is pretty long, so I'm gonna just conclude it right there. Money. Sony can make more money if you rebuy old games, which I don't think people even have a problem with at this point. It's just like they're just taking that option away just in general. The average gamer these days care more about free-to-play battle royale games than playing old classic titles. Look at the top games on Twitch. That is sadly kind of true. Like the most of the gamers play Fortnite, the Call of Duty multiplayer battle royale game, and like I don't know, whatever the newest one is. Like it's like the Apex Legends. Yeah, they'd rather play those games than play like play like classic games on a PS2 and PS3. So that is kind of true in a sense. Let's see. Where Sony fails, PS1, 2, and 3 emulation prevails. Many PS3 games are on PCs, so you can easily skip those games. If Sony doesn't want to do it, someone will. I'd be very happy if PS2 games were in full HD, was emulated on PS5. Not some trash and streaming service either. Yeah, people don't like PS Now that much, to be honest. PS3 and 360 era games flowed like wine. I think that was like really one of like the most legit, like best gaming eras was the PS3 360 era for video games, like especially like new experiences for new IPs. But the PS4 and Xbox One era, we kind of got like a lot of remasters of those PS3 and 360 generation of games. But yeah, it's like I just don't get it. Like at least have the older PS3 games on a PS5 without the whole the streaming thing aspect. But yeah. So new president wants to separate today's PlayStation image from PlayStation's Japanese roots. So he's talking about Jim Ryan with that statement. And yeah, that concludes this post right here. It was just people's thoughts about why Sony just doesn't want to support older games anymore. And it's just like people are just thinking about like why did their message start to change now? But yeah, definitely see comments about this down below. Why do you think their message is changing? Why do you think their direction for gaming is changing now? They're not supporting these older games that they did before. Leave a like if you like this video, and as always, thanks for watching, and peace.